Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of making a skating dress for my dress form. Today we're actually going to be sewing the dress together. So what I'm working on now is just removing the pattern pieces from the fabric for the bodice portion of the skating dress. The piece right here is the back bodice, and we're going to go ahead and attach that to the front bodice. A method that I like to use is sandwiching the pieces together. How that works is that it then encases the raw seam in between the layers of the bodice so that you can't see them, and it just provides a really pretty clean edge. Now the way you do this is that this back bodice piece that you see is going to be sandwiched in between the fabric for the front bodice and the lining for the front bodice. Then you sew them all together, and when you flip everything around, that seam will be enclosed. All right, so I finished sewing the bodice together, and now I'm working on the back briefs. I know there's a gap in the video. I have learned the hard way that when I have a notification on my phone, the video stops recording, so I'll need to work on that. But that's how the back briefs look when they're sewn together with that seam. And now we're going to go ahead and attach them to the front briefs. It will be the same process that we used for the bodice, where we sandwich those seams together just to give them a clean line. Okay, those are all sewn together. So now we're just going to flip them right side out so that they are as they should be. So you can see there is those nice clean seams on the inside of those briefs. And then also here is the front bodice that you can see has been sewn together. Again, clean seams on that side as well. Next up, we're going to go ahead and work on putting the skirt together. There are just 2 seams, so it goes pretty quickly, one on each side. And here's what the skirt looks like when it is all sewn together. As you can see, the back of the skirt is quite a bit longer than the front, but I really like the way that it drapes. I think it's going to look really pretty when all is said and done. Okay, so I have the pieces of the torso on the dress form. Everything looks like it's going to be great. The front bodice is long enough, the briefs come up high enough, and I'm really happy with the way it looks. One thing that I do want to note, it does look like it's still way too big under the arms there, but keep in mind we haven't added the elastic or the hem for that part of it yet, so that will be quite a bit smaller once that is done. But I think we're ready to go ahead and add the elastic and then sew it all together. Now we're going to go ahead and add the elastic to the briefs. The easiest way to do this is to use the quartering method, and what that means is that you're going to split the opening for the leg hole into 4 even pieces, quarters, and then you'll also do the same for the elastic. And then once both of those have been measured out into 4 even pieces, you'll match them up together so that you can then sew them together. Once you get the elastic attached to the briefs at each of the quarter marks, you can go ahead and sew them together. One thing I want to note is to not cut off the edges of the elastic. So you can trim the fabric if a little bit is hanging over, but don't trim the elastic. Now, I didn't get much further on this project when I was working on it yesterday, just because my machine decided to give me fits. So this is pretty much as far as I got. I could not get the thread to stop breaking. I changed my needles, I rethreaded the machine, and I just couldn't get any further without switching out the machine. So what you're seeing here is me fighting with the machine, trying to get it to do what I want it to, but ultimately at the end of the day, it just wouldn't go. And as I've learned, when you start having that much trouble, it's easier to just set the project aside and either step away or moved on to a different project.